Hi guys, today we're going to talk about fractions. We're going to compare it in order fractions from least to greatest or vice versa, greatest to least. Now before we begin, I'm going to start off with simple stuff that you guys are already familiar with and things that you already know how to do before we move on into, a higher level of fractions. So let's start off with baby stuff. Let's start off with 2/3 and 1/3. If I was to ask you which fraction is larger, you would automatically say 2/3 is greater than 1/3. Okay, and that's very easy. How can you tell? Well, let's look at the parts of a fraction. Our denominators are 3 in both fractions, and our numerator is 2 and 1. Now, if the denominators are the same, that's excellent. That's super. We want to leave them the same. Being that the denominators are the same, the only thing we're looking at is our numerators. So in this case, 2 is greater than 1. Therefore, 2/3 is greater than 1/3. Now let's do another example. Let's go ahead and work with 5/6 and 3/6. Same thing. If I was to ask you which fraction is larger, you would say 5/6 is larger than 3/6. It's greater. How can you tell? Well, let's look at our denominators. Our denominators are the same. Let's look at our numerators. The numerators are different. 5 is larger than 3. Therefore, 5/6 is greater than 3/6. One more example. Let's do 1/9 and 7/9. In this case, again guys, I know that it sounds like me being repetitive, but that's what I do. I'm very repetitive. You're going to hear me say the same things over and over until it's engraved in you. Okay? In this case, our denominators are 9. So check, that's good. Our numerator is 1, and our numerator in this fraction is 7. Well, being that the denominators are the same, we're only looking at our numerators. Which one is larger? In this case, 7/9 is larger than 1/9. So when we read it, we say 1/9 is less than 7/9. Now, let me provide you with an example with a picture. This is going to serve you as a visual. Okay, in the first picture here, we have we have 2 out of 6 shaded, and in the second picture we have 3 out of 6 shaded. Well, obviously you can already tell just by the drawing that 3/6 is larger. But let's go ahead and look at our fractions. Our denominator for both are 6. The denominators are the same. The numerator on the first one is 2, and the numerator on the second one is 3. Well, obviously 3 is larger than 2. Therefore, 2/6 is less than 3/6. Now guys, for those of you that get a little confused with the less than and greater than sign, something I tell my son is to turn it into Pac-Man. Okay, some of your teachers have told you to turn it into alligators or whatnot. Turn it into Pac-Man. Pac-Man always goes for the big bonuses, for the big money, for the big numbers. See? You can draw the little eyes if you want, whatever makes you happy. If it's going to help you understand it better, go ahead and do it. So in this case, Pac-Man is going to eat 3/6 because it's bigger. It'll get him more points. All right, now let's move on to 6th grade stuff. Now in this example, I've provided you with the picture. In the next few examples, I'm going to take the pictures away. Here I have 1/2 and 3/4. Okay? So obviously, based on the picture, 3/4 is larger. But let's pretend that we don't have the picture. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write my fractions right here, 1/4 and 3/4. In this case, notice that the denominators are different. I have a denominator of 2 and a denominator of 4. Now, earlier in the previous examples I was giving you, the denominators were equal. So what we have to do is make sure that both denominators are equal here as well. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the least common multiple. All right, my denominator is 2 and my denominator is 4. So let's do the multiples. Let's do the multiples of 2. 2, 4, 6, 8. Let's do the multiples of 4. 4, 8, 12. And I can keep going. But if you notice here, they both have 4 as the least common multiple. Okay, so I'm going to use 4. That way my denominators are the same now. Now let's do our work. 4 times 1 is 4. What you do to the bottom, you must do to the top. 3 times 1 is 3. So that one's going to stay the same. 2 times 2 is 4. What you do to the bottom, you must do to the top. 1 times 2 is 2. Now, let's look at this set of fractions. My denominators are the same. Good. Which one is larger, the 2 or the 3? Well, the 3 is larger. So automatically, 3/4 is larger than 1/2. Now let's try some examples without pictures. Now in this example, I have 7/8 and 7/12. Again, let's focus on what we've been focusing on. We have our denominators of 8 and 12. Are they the same? No. So when we compare or order fractions, our denominators have to be the same. All right, well, let's find a way to turn them into common denominators. I'm going to write my fractions here. 7/8 and 7/12. Okay, so I need to make sure they have a common denominator. Well, I can find the least common multiple. Let's do the multiples of 8. I have 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 3 is 24. I can keep going, but let's just try 12. 12 times 1 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24. Oh, look. I have a common multiple of 24. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my denominator 24. All right, now let's change our fractions. 12 times 2 is 24. What you do to the bottom, you must do to the top. 7 times 2 is 14. 8 times 3 is 24. 7 times 3 is 21. Now, let's focus our eyes over here. All right, are our denominators the same? Yes. All right, now it's way easier. Now you tell me, which number is larger, 21 or 14? Well, obviously 21 is larger than 14. Let's look at the original fraction. The original fraction is 7/8. So 7/8 is larger than 7/14. So I'm going to go ahead and do my little Pac-Man. Okay, 7/8 is larger than 7/12. For those of you that feel comfortable, go ahead and finish the little drawing. Okay? All right, and that is how we do it. Now, guys, for some of you, you're probably asking, well, why are you changing it? Why are you changing the fraction? Actually, I'm not changing the fraction. All I'm doing is changing the way it looks. Let's think of money. I'm going to separate them. If I have 2 quarters, how much do I have? I have 50 cents, right? Okay. What if I trade those 2 quarters with somebody and I say, give me 5 dimes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They give me 5 dimes. How much do I have? I have 50 cents still, don't I? Okay. So all I did was change the way it looks. Is 2 quarters the same or equal to 5 dimes? Yes. 2 quarters, let me put that right here. 2 quarters is equal to 5 dimes. Now, do they look different? Yes. But do they have the same value? Yes. Same thing over here, guys. 7/8 is equal to 21 out of 24. And 7/12 is equal to 14 out of 24. They may look different, but they're the same. They have the same value. Just like these here, these 2/4 looks different than these 5 dimes. But remember, guys, they have the same value. So we're not changing the value, we're just changing the way it looks. It's like if I go into the classroom with my hair down today, and then tomorrow I walk in with my hair in a ponytail. I may look a little different, but I'm still the same person. Okay? So let's try a couple more. All right, let's try 4/8 and 3/4. First thing we need to look at is our denominators. Are the denominators the same? No, they're different. So we got to turn them into like fractions, into common denominators. Okay, so I'm going to write my fraction over here, 4/8 and 3/4. All right, focus on the denominator first. All right, I have a denominator of 8 and a denominator of 4. Well, I can find the least common multiple. All right, let's do the multiples of 8. 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 4 is 32. All right, let's do the multiples of 4. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2, I'm sorry, I'm going ahead of myself here. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16, and so forth. But I'm going to stop right here only because, look, I saw something that they have in common. They both have 8, don't they? All right, so I'm going to make my denominator 8. All right, let's focus on our work now. 4 times 2 is 8. 3 times 2 is 6. What you do to the bottom, you must do to the top. The other fraction is going to stay the same because the denominator is already 8. 8 times 1 is 8. What you do to the bottom, you must do to the top. 4 times 1 is 4. Now, look how easy it is, guys. Our denominators are the same. Check, check. Now let's look at our numerators. Which numerator is larger, the 4 or the 6? Obviously the 6. So that makes 3/4 larger. Okay, so 4/8 is less than 3/4. If you want to draw your little Pac-Man, go ahead and do so. All right. Now, let's say somebody says, well, Miss Benjamin, they also have 16 in common. Can I use 16? Sure. It's not going to make a difference. Here, let's try that. 4/8 and 3/4. All right, if I want to use 16 as a denominator, go for it. You're still going to get the same results. All right, let's do this. 4 times 4 is 16. What you do to the bottom, you must do to the top. 3 times 4 is 12. 8 times 2 is 16. 4 times 2 is 8. Now let's focus here. Look at our denominators. Check, check. They're the same. Now, look at your numerators. I have 8 and 12. Which one's larger? The 12. So, automatically, 3/4 is larger. See, guys? So you can use different multiples, but I like to always go for the least common multiple. It's just easier, but it's not a problem if you use a different denominator. All right, let's try the last one and see how we do using quite a few fractions this time. Let's compare a few fractions. All right, guys, in this case we have 7/8, 2/3, 5/6, and 1/2. Notice the denominators are all different. So I have to find the least common multiple. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started with our work. I'm going to line them up over here. 7/8, 2/3, 5/6, and 1/2. Now, if you are strong in your multiplication skills, guys, I'll tell you right now, you don't need to find the least common multiple. Those of you that are strong with your multiplication skills are going to be looking at the 8, 3, 6, and 2. And you're going to ask yourself, what can 8, 3, 6, and 2 all go into? Ooh, they can all go into 24. Okay, if you're strong with your multiplication skills, you don't need to do all that extra work. Okay, but for those of you that need that a little extra help, let's find our least common multiple. All right, let's do 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 2, 16. 8 times 3, 24. All right, let's do our multiples of 3. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 6 is 18. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3 times 7 is 21. 3 times 8 is 24. All right, let's do the multiples of 6. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 4 is 24. Let's do the multiples of 2. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. All right, now notice, guys, I'm going to point this out. This one has a multiple of 18, 18, and 18. But does 8 have a multiple of 18? No, so we cannot use 18. But what do they all have in common? Okay, remember we're talking about the least common multiple. They must all have something in common. They all have 24 in common. You see that there? Okay, so I'm going to use 24 as my denominator for all my numbers. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and erase this right here because I'm going to need the space. All right, well, let's look at our denominators. Our denominators are going to be 24 for all of them. Now, how do I get from 8 to 24? 8 times 3 is 24. And 7 times 3 is 21. 3 times 8 is 24. What you do to the bottom, you must do to the top. 2 times 8 is 16. 6 times 4 is 24. What you do to the bottom, you must do to the top. 5 times 4 is 20. 2 times 12 is 24. What you do to the bottom, you must do to the top. 1 times 12 is 12. Now, guys, let's look at this. Now we can easily put them in order from least to greatest. Okay? Let's put them in order from least to greatest. I'm going to use a different colored pen. I'm going to use red. All right, if you look at this, our denominators are the same. Good. Now let's just focus on our numerator. Okay, which one is the least? Which one is the smallest? Well, the 12. Let's go to the original fraction. It's 1/2. All right, so I'm done with this one. Which one's the second least? 16. The original fraction is 2/3. I'm done with this one. Which one's the second least? I'm sorry, the third least? 20 over 24, which is 5/6. And then last but not least, we have 7/8. And that is how we do it, boys and girls. All right, so please make sure you go back to the beginning. If you didn't understand it too well, make sure you ask questions in class. Be ready. Come prepared with those questions, and I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. Meanwhile, go ahead and practice a few more. Try some for yourself and see how it goes. Have a great day. Thank you.